I am here to do a book haul. I got some money for Christmas, and even though I was planning on not buying that many books this year, those sales and the money that I had for Christmas, I just had to. I mean, I can't stop. And obviously I won't stop. So here we are again with a book haul. I'm sure you are aware, if you've been following my recent videos, how much I've been really into reading horror and my endeavor to find books that actually scare me. This book haul is going to be made up mainly of horror books, horror, thriller. That genre is going to be what this book haul is made up mostly of. Half of these books I purchased on Amazon and the other half I bought from Book Outlet. Let's just get into it. I'm going to start with the books that I bought from Amazon and then we'll move into Book Outlet. So the very first book that I bought was My Darling Dreadful Thing by Johanna van Veen. Johanna, I'm not sure how she pronounces that. And this says, Ruth Beckman has a spirit companion only she can see. Ruth, strange, corpse-like, and dead for centuries, is the light of Rue's life. That is, until a wealthy young widow, Agnes Knoop, visits one of Rue's backroom seances and the two strike up a connection. Soon, Ruth is whisked away to the crumbling estate Agnes inherited upon the death of her husband, where an ill woman haunts the halls, strange smells drift through the air at night, and mysterious stone statues reside in the family chapel. Something dreadful festers in the manor, but still the attraction between Ruth and Agnes is undeniable. Then someone is murdered. Poor, alone, and with a history of hysterics, Ruth is the obvious culprit. With her sanity and innocence in question, she will have to prove who or what is at fault, or lose everything she holds dear. I mean, this cover to me is freaking fabulous and creepy and horrible. I can't wait to read this. It is only 375 pages. Next, American Psycho by Bret Easton Ellis. There is a film made after this book, I believe, with Christian Bale, which I have seen and I thought was really, really good. Patrick Bateman is handsome, well-educated, intelligent. He works by day on Wall Street, earning a fortune to complement the one he was born with. His nights he spends in ways we cannot begin to fathom. He's 26 years old and living his own American dream. I've heard that the way that Bret Easton Ellis writes is very raw and disturbing, and that he touches a lot of messed up issues. I'm sure there's going to be some trigger warnings for this one. I have not looked them up, and they generally don't really bother me. Next is a classic horror book that I've heard so many people rave about how it is better than the movie and is just a truly horrific and frightening experience. That is such a good classic horror book, and that is Rosemary's Baby by Ira Levins. A foundational work of suspense and psychological horror which remains as powerful and chilling as the day it was written. Rosemary Woodhouse and her struggling actor husband Guy are thrilled to move into the Bramford, a sought-after Manhattan apartment building prized for its Victorian details and gargoyled facade. Yet, as they learn of a darker side to the building's history and become acquainted with their overly attentive neighbors, the Castevets, unspoken tensions enter into the young couple's relationship. Matters improve when Guy lands a major role and Rosemary at last becomes pregnant. But as her pregnancy takes frightening turns, Rosemary begins to question if her neighbor's heightened interest is strictly innocent, or if their motivations and those of Guy himself pretend terrifying consequences for her and her unborn child. Is Rosemary going mad or going sane? Next are two from the same author, and this is one author that I am very excited to read for the first time. I will probably make a separate video strictly reading these two books and my experience with it, like vlog style, you know. And that is Nat Cassidy. And first we have Nestlings. Anna and Reed needed a lucky break. The horrifically complicated birth of their first child has left Anna paralyzed. Bitter and struggling, with mobility and her relationship with Reed and the resentment for her baby. That's about to change with the words any New Yorker would love to hear: affordable housing lottery. They've won an apartment in the Deptford, one of Manhattan's most revered buildings, with beautiful vistas of Central Park and stunning architecture. Reed dismisses disturbing events and Anna's deep unease and paranoia as the price of living in New York. People are odd, but he can't explain the need-like bite marks on the baby. I think this is vampire-related horror. Yeah. I think this is the one I am most excited for because I am a big fan of vampire novels. And the next one is Mary, An Awakening of Terror. Mary is a quiet, middle-aged woman doing her best to blend into the background. Unremarkable, invisible, unknown even to herself. But lately things have been changing inside Mary, along with the hot flashes and body aches. She can't look in a mirror without passing out, and the voices in her head have been urging her to do unspeakable things. Fired from her job in New York, she moves back to her hometown, hoping to reconnect with her past and inner self. Instead, visions of terrifying, mutilated specters overwhelm her with increasing regularity, and she begins auto-writing strange thoughts and phrases. Mary discovers that these experiences are echoes of an infamous serial killer. Then the killings begin again. Mary is definitely going to find herself. I've heard really great things about this one as well. Can't wait to get into it. Now we're going to start on the book outlet books that I picked up. The first one is one that is no stranger to the booktube community, I am sure. I've heard so much about this book last year, and so many people have given it 5 stars and raved about how great it is and how disturbing. Tender is the Flesh by Augustina Bazterrica. And this one is about his wife has left him, his father is sinking into dementia, and Marcos tries not to think all too hard about how he makes a living. After all, it happened so quickly. First, it was reported that an infectious virus had made all animals' meat poisonous to humans. Then governments initiated the transition. Now eating human meat, special meat, is legal. Marcos tries to stick to numbers, consignments, processing. Then one day he's given a gift, a live specimen of the finest quality. Though he's aware that any form of personal contact is forbidden on pain of death, little by little he starts to treat her like a human being, and soon he becomes tortured by what has been lost and what might still be saved. I mean, I think that speaks for itself. Cannibalism. This next one has a Target sticker on the front, but I did not buy it from Target. And this will actually be my first book by this author, and she is a very well-known thriller author, and that is The Locked Door by Frida McFadden. Some doors are locked for a reason. While 11-year-old Nora Davis was up in her bedroom doing homework, she had no idea her father was killing women in the basement, until the day the police arrived at their front door. Decades later, Nora's father is spending his life behind bars, and Nora is a successful surgeon with a quiet, solitary existence. Nobody knows about her past, and she'll do anything to keep it that way. Then one of her young female patients is murdered, killed in the same unique and horrific manner that her father used to kill his victims. Somebody knows who Nora is. Somebody wants her to take the fall for this unthinkable crime. But she's not like her father. The police can't pin anything on her, as long as they don't look in her basement. I mean, that sounds pretty good. I really enjoy reading about serial killers. This next author is another well-known author in the horror thriller department. I have not yet read any of their work, but I saw this on Book Outlet, and the cover is, I mean, I think it's stunning. That is T. Kingfisher's A House with Good Bones. Just take a minute. Mom seems off. Her brother's words echo into Sam Montgomery's ear as she turns onto the quiet North Carolina street where her mother lives alone. She brushes the thought away as she climbs the front steps. Sam's excited for this rare extended visit and looking forward to nights with just the two of them, drinking boxed wine, watching murder mystery shows, and guessing who the killer is, long before the characters figure it out. But stepping inside, she quickly realizes that home isn't what it used to be. Gone is the warm, cluttered charm her mom is known for. Now the walls are painted a sterile white. Her mom jumps at the smallest noises and looks over her shoulder even when she's the only person in the room. When Sam steps out back to clear her head, she finds a jar of hidden teeth beneath the magazine-worthy rose bushes, and vultures are circling the garden from above. To find out what's got her mom so frightened in her own home, Sam will go digging for the truth, but some secrets are better left buried. I have two more that I think are classified like horror thriller, and then there will be three that are not. I think they're more sci-fi, fantasy, and one romance. Strange Sally Diamond by Liz Nugent. For Sally Diamond, people are unpredictable and hard to read. She has always preferred routines to spontaneity and silence to noise. Adopted at age 6, she cannot remember any details of her childhood before then. Now, 43, Sally finds the truth coming into sharp focus when her past becomes headline news. She endured something unthinkable as a child, and now the entire world knows exactly who she is. Suddenly, Sally herself is in the spotlight. People everywhere are digging into her past, and Sally is learning things about herself and her family that she never knew before. Soon, a stranger sends her a familiar teddy bear in the mail. But why does she call her Mary? And why is her new neighbor so obsessed with her? Told from the alternating perspectives of Sally in the present and a boy named Peter in the past, this is a novel that confronts the trauma of family secrets and explores one woman's brave decision to define herself and her future. Sounds kind of more thriller to me. I'm not exactly sure. I just remember hearing one of my fellow booktubers talk about this book at some point, and it sounded really, really good. So interesting to see. It is blurbed by Ruth Ware. It says dark, compelling, and deeply moving. And this is the same author that wrote The It Girl and The Woman in Cabin 10. Okay. Next I have Ghost Station by S.A. Barnes. An abandoned planet, a hidden past, a deadly danger. Psychologist Dr. Ophelia Bray has dedicated her life to the study and prevention of Eckhart-Reiser syndrome, ERS, the most famous case of which resulted in the brutal murders of 29 people. It's personal to her, and when she's assigned to a small exploration crew who recently suffered the tragic death of a colleague, she wants to help. But as they begin to establish residency on an abandoned planet, it becomes clear that the crew is hiding something. And Ophelia's crewmates are far more interested in investigating the eerie ancient planet and unraveling the mystery behind the previous colonizers' hasty departure than opening up to her. That is, until their pilot is discovered gruesomely murdered. Is this Ophelia's worst nightmare starting, a wave of violence and mental deterioration from ERS, or is it something even more sinister? Terrified that history will repeat itself, Ophelia and the crew must work together to figure out what's happening. But trust is hard to come by, and the crew members aren't the only ones keeping secrets. So like sci-fi horror, which I love. I read the other book by her. Oh, what the heck was it called? I don't know. I'll pop it up here. I'm sure you're familiar with it. And I liked it. I think that there were some aspects of it that didn't really work so well for me. So I'm hoping that this one is better. I think this is their like second book, maybe. Thought it was worth giving a shot because I do really enjoy like space horror. Next, I have The Paleontologist by Luc Dumas. A haunted paleontologist returns to the museum where his sister was abducted years earlier and is faced with a terrifying and murderous spirit in this chilling novel. Okay. I do think this is maybe horror thriller. Curator of the paleontology, Dr. Simon Neely never expected to return to his Pennsylvania hometown, let alone the Hawthorne Museum of Natural History. He was just a boy when his 6-year-old sister Morgan was abducted from the museum under his watch, and the guilt has haunted him ever since. After a recent breakup and the death of the aunt who raised him, Simon feels drawn back to the place where Morgan vanished in search of the bones they never found. But from the moment he arrives, things aren't what he expected. The Hawthorne is a crumbling ruin, still closed amid the ongoing pandemic and plummeting toward financial catastrophe. Worst, Simon begins seeing and hearing things he can't explain. Strange animal sounds, bloody footprints that no living creature could have left, a prehistoric killer looming in the shadows of the museum. Terrified he's losing his grasp on reality, Simon turns to the handwritten research diaries of his predecessor and uncovers a blood-soaked mystery 150 million years in the making that could be the answer to everything.
Well, that sounds good.
Honestly, I really didn't realize that this was horror thriller. I thought that it was more sci-fi. It's a nice and well-received surprise. This one is, I believe, a fantasy sci-fantasy, in which it plays with time. I actually heard Jimmy over on the Fantasy Network talking about this book, and that is The Other Valley by Scott Alexander Howard. 16-year-old Odile vies for a coveted seat on the council. If she earns the position, she'll decide who may cross her town's heavily guarded borders. To the east, the same town is 20 years ahead in time. To the west, it is 20 years behind. The towns repeat in an endless sequence across the wilderness. When Odile recognizes two visitors she wasn't supposed to see, she realizes that the parents of her friend Edme have been escorted across the border from the future on a mourning tour to view their son while he's still alive in Odile's present. Edme, who is brilliant, funny, and the only person to truly know Odile, is about to die. Sworn to secrecy in order to preserve the timeline, Odile now becomes the Council's top candidate, yet she finds herself drawing closer to the doomed boy, imperiling her entire future. That sounds so good. I love time-bending books, and so this sounds right in that vein. Okay, this is the last one, and the only romance that I have on here, and that is Check and Mate by Allie Hazelwood. I read The Love Hypothesis by Allie Hazelwood a few months back, and I really loved her writing. I thought her characters were really enjoyable, really relatable, and the storyline, the romance, was fun and not overly done or icky. Mallory Greenleaf is done with chess. Every move counts nowadays. After the sport led to the destruction of her family 4 years earlier, Mallory's focus is on her mom, her sisters, and the dead-end job that keeps the lights on. That is until she begrudgingly agrees to play in one last charity tournament and inadvertently wipes the board with notorious king killer Nolan Sawyer, current world champion and reigning bad boy of chess. Nolan's lost to unknown rookie shocks everyone, especially Mallory. What's even more confusing, his desire to cross pawns again. What kind of gambit is Nolan playing? The smart move would be to walk away, resign, game over. But Mallory's victory opens the door to sorely needed cash prizes, and despite everything, she can't help feeling drawn to the enigmatic strategist. As she rockets up the ranks, Mallory struggles to keep her family safely separated from the game that wrecked it in the first place. And her love for the sport she so desperately wanted to hate begins to rekindle. Mallory quickly realizes that the games aren't only on the board. The spotlight is hotter than she imagined, and the competition can be fiercely attractive and intelligent and infuriating. Sounds pretty good. I really liked Queen's Gambit, I think it was called, with Anna Taylor-Joy. I never would have thought that I would enjoy a movie about chess, but it was really good. I'm out of breath. That was a lot of talking. Those are the books that I got and I hope to get to fairly quickly. I would love to know if you've read any of these books, what you thought. Are any of these on your TBR? Let me know. Drop me a comment down below. Until the next video, I'll see you guys later. Bye!